Hey everyone, welcome back to Why Are We Really Here? This is the podcast where we lean back, slow down, and just wonder out loud about the stuff that doesn't have any answers. Like, is this even real? Are we living in a simulation, a dream, or are we just characters in some teenager's video game from another galaxy who got bored during class? Today I'm with my friend and neighbor Rob. He's an engineer and he's responsible for keeping our roads and highways from turning into a full speed Mario Kart track. So thank you for that, man.
All right.
Uh, so let's dig in. And, he's someone that I always have good conversations with. And we dig into a lot of deep stuff. He comes with an engineering, I say a logistical mind. I come from more philosophical mind, and sometimes a little out there a little bit. So we converge in the middle and see what's up. And so I thought it'd be good to bring him in on this with an engineering perspective on the ideal of are we really in a simulation? Um, so, Rob, if this life is a simulation, how do you think safety engineering would actually apply within this simulation? As if, like, if you design this simulation, what safety protocols would you put in for? Because there's obviously not safety protocol for us.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily a safe place. So, how would you do that as a safety engineer?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, I think. I think it boils down to physics, and engineering. Physics plays a role. It's our Bible that we run by. And when we're doing traffic safety, we're confined by physics. We're always trying to reduce the transfer of energy. When we're going around a curve, we're trying to design that curve so your butt is sitting in the seat, not so you're getting pushed against the doorway when we're going around the curve.
Right.
That's the proper way to design a curve. So I think even if we're in a matrix type simulation, that there's got to be certain ground rules.
Okay.
And those ground rules are physics. And we can measure them and we can change them and affect them. But more importantly, we can design systems around those rules. So if this is a simulation, those are the ground rules that we got to play by.
Wow. That's amazing, Rob. That's a lot of us, lay people, that drive on the highway, we do not take any of that into account, but we appreciate you looking out for us.
That's right.
Thank you.
Right.
Um, so do you think, the programmer, do you think if there obviously has to be a programmer to a simulation. Do you think this programmer updates us while we're asleep? Like, are we still running on like a beta version or on the next day of launch? Does that change? Are we getting like, 5 in the AM, updates?
Yeah, interesting question. No way to really know, I suppose. If I were the programmer, I suppose I'd be updating the software. There's always something new to learn. You're reacting to the simulation. Nobody's perfect, so when you start the ball rolling in the simulation, there's going to be issues, right? So you've got to take measures to make sure your simulation's running within the parameters that you want it to run.
Okay, so you're talking about physics. Okay, and so my next question would be quantum, quantum physics. There's a subset of physicians that they're saying basically uh, your reality changes depending on what you're looking at. And so, do you think we're building a world simulation, whatnot, by the things we're paying attention to what they're alluding to, as if you know, if no one's looking, does it just kind of sit there in low resolution, waiting to reload?
Right.
What's going
If a
on?
tree falls in the woods, right?
Yeah.
Um, if this is a simulation, yeah, I think that we give weight to the things that we observe. I think that's a measurable thing. Um, I think that it's an interesting point.
Um. Well, switching into like, religion, ancient thought, maybe some philosophical thought. In Hinduism, they say, the world is Maya, which means it's an illusion. Do you think ancient people were like already onto the simulation thing and we just now are starting to understand it because of the movie The Matrix? Do you think they were
Right.
onto something back then? Because they
Should
were thinking that.
I think they had a lot of time to sit around and not be distracted by things like modern technology and um, probably a lot of deep thinking back then. And I'm sure someone somewhere had that thought, and how far they ran with it, I don't know, but we're probably not the first ones to think this.
Wow. There's a thought in ancient thought, an ideology in ancient thought, basically the Gnostic text. And they're basically saying, a lot of the texts are saying that the world was built by a lesser god, like a flawed cosmic intern. Um, there's no doubt a lot of mistakes, well, we could call them mistakes and flaws, if this was created. Maybe they are perfect. Really, who knows? But I guess maybe was this program designed with decent graphics, but the it has a buggy morality code.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Something's off.
yeah. It's funny. I was just listening to a podcast this morning, and it talked about it was talking about high school bullies and the mean girl
Hmm.
specifically, and how some people like to get picked on by the mean girl, and these but it got me thinking that, not everyone is created equal, especially in high school. There are some people that are jocks and they get the girls, and there's
Yeah.
some that are doomed to watch from the corners. And it's not fair, it's not
Right.
perfect, but that's the world we live in. So it's inherently unfair. So I think that to say the world is perfect is a stretch. I think it does seem like a little buggy,
Yeah.
and there's just so many people with different perspectives, wants, and needs that it just can't doesn't seem like it balances out.
Okay. So in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, there's a section, well, at the very beginning, Adam and Eve get in trouble for seeking knowledge. And do you think that's like not more about a sin, but more about, this is getting religiously, I guess, but more about breaking like the fourth wall? We live in three dimensions, breaking that fourth one. Like, wasn't the ancient version of not peek behind the curtain? Because if you
Right,
do, it's like the Wizard of Oz, and you find the wizard is just a man.
right.
What do you think?
That's an interesting point. A different way to look at it, I suppose. They lived in this utopia, right?
Yeah,
Where everything was perfect. They had everything they needed. And when they peeked behind the corner, they saw the emperor wasn't wearing any pants, and they ate the fruit, and then they had knowledge that messed everything up, right? And they became embarrassed and needed to put on
uh-huh.
clothes and everything else. So I think it's an interesting take on things.
Okay, close to that, like in every ancient culture, pretty much, throughout the world, most of them believed that this world was just a temporary illusion, or an illusion, or a test. Were they all just mystical, or do you think they were trying to tell us something? Like, what if myth and religion were just old versions of, patch notes or stickums? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's possible. I think that I mean, who knows? It's hard to say. I think yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that one.
Well, Rob, I can get a little wild sometimes, man. So, uh, hey, if this is a simulation, what are the odds that we're just side characters in someone's intergalactic video game? Is so making a teenager making us do taxes and go to therapy just for laughs? What do you think?
Yeah, it's like a Rick and Morty episode. Exactly. Yeah, who knows? I mean that's the take on things. You know, maybe we're all in the Matrix, and this is just a video game for someone else's amusement. Maybe it's for God's amusement. You know,
Hmm.
maybe he got bored one day and he said, "Screw it, let's see what happens," and then put things in motion and gave us free will, and we're
Yeah.
all bumping into each other. It's possible.
All right. So, all right. My cat Luna, who's over there laying down right now. Uh, sometimes I'm just sitting around the apartment and she's staring at a wall or empty space. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you looking at? Are you seeing something I don't see? And so I've always wondered if she's just a background, maybe in the simulation. Is she a sleeper agent for the Matrix somehow? You know what I mean?
She knows something we don't.
Right, who knows?
Yeah, especially with cats too, right? Because
Yeah.
they bug out all the time, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why. Um, totally plausible.
All right. So we'll bring it back to, I don't know, I guess more serious, deeper questions. And so my question would be is why do you think spiritual teachers from Jesus, in the desert to Buddha under the tree completely disconnected from society and went inward? Do you think they could have been stepping out of the simulation for even a moment when Jesus was saying, "Be still and know that I am God," or Buddha said under the tree, "Just wait for enlightenment" or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, big shoes to fill. I think I think they were under an enormous amount of pressure, and they definitely had to try to disconnect and think about things in a completely different way to get their point across. I'm sure they're wrestling with some enormous amount of pressure, and they had a message that they wanted to get out, and they had to, I think, step inside themselves and disconnect from the mundane. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they're really trying to do is wake people up,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
This is something that have been, I really think about a lot, especially with social media. Um, if you get on YouTube, if you click on one thing, you can have an algorithm that's just a spiral of negativity. Your movies, killing, death, rape, murder, music, kind of the same way. And it makes me wonder, like, why do you think, okay, why do you think silence and like solitude and fasting in ancient times were seen as paths to awakening, and today we like avoid all those things. We're clearly in it, being distracted with a lot of negativity, not a lot of positivity in media, social media, music, and I wanted on your take from your engineering mind. Do you think in a simulation, uh, saying that we are, if we were in a simulation, is the distraction the system's like built-in defense against waking up?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think um, trying to keep us busy so we don't see the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's possible.
Hmm.
I think that I think there's a lot of distractions these days, and our brains were not designed to handle so many distractions. We're supposed to have a lot of peace and quiet during the day, and if this is a simulation, then yeah, we're constantly being tossed around to keep our mind from being still.
And thinking on that, if you look at your Asian religions, there's a lot of meditation, go within. Even the Bible says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Be still and know that you're God. That seems to say that in the silence could be God, and maybe God is heaven and a way out of a simulation if you were in fact in a simulation. Which is what they're talking about. So I guess my last question here would be, what if silence isn't empty at all? You know, just like the space between us isn't empty. There's oxygen between us.
Yeah.
There's something that, but in the silence is the only time in the program that lets us get a peek at the source of the code. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, when you're at peace, that's why you become relaxed. So, tying into your last question, we're being jostled around and constantly distracted. But when we can be at peace and meditate, something happens to our brains. We relax. We're more open to suggestion. Something definitely happens there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's definitely a physical effect that happens. So yeah, you could be onto something there. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's really probably enough of the serious talk. We have to do exactly that. Smile and laugh sometimes. But whether this place is a simulation, a dream, a test, or some cosmic improv game, we're clearly all in it. Uh, and maybe just talking about it is how we start to wake up and learn, or prove or disprove these things. But I'd like to thank Rob for coming by, bringing his engineering mind and logical thinking mind. And to my cat Luna, I'd like to thank her, and most importantly for not revealing what she knows about the simulation yet. But if any part of this episode made you laugh, wonder, or just sit still for a quiet, or sit quietly for a second, that's the whole point. Maybe that pause is the answer. So until next time, stay curious, stay calm, and keep looking for the glitch. Peace. Conversation, but this feels like a program.